You know that sound, right? That stomp, clap.
Instantly recognizable.
Or just one of those soaring vocal lines that hits you, fills a whole stadium, or even just your room with this incredible energy.
Pure power.
Today, we are diving deep into the man behind so much of that power. Freddie Mercury, the legendary frontman of Queen.
What absolute icon.
And we've pulled together quite the stack of sources for this one. Everything from really detailed vocal analyses, band biographies, fan discussions, even some very intimate recollections.
Yeah, a real mix.
Our mission, basically, is to peel back those layers, the rock god persona, and find the surprising facts, the hidden complexities maybe, and just the sheer genius that made him such a force of nature.
And what's great about these sources is they let us look at Freddie from, well, all these different angles, not just the performer, right?
Right.
But the person, the artist, the phenomenon. We can sort of connect the dots between his unique physicality, his creative process, and, the times he lived in.
Okay, so let's unpack that journey. Where do we start? His very beginnings.
Makes sense. Farrokh Bulsara.
Born September 5th, 1946 in Zanzibar. His parents were Parsi. Followed Zoroastrianism. I mean, what a foundation for what came later.
It really is. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, the family emigrating to England around 64 because of the uprisings in Zanzibar, that definitely shaped his early
A
life.
huge change.
Huge. He even talked about the contrast, between the poverty he saw visiting India and then England. It gives you a different perspective on that flamboyant persona later on.
How so?
Well, it's almost like he was consciously building this larger-than-life character, partly as a way to navigate this completely new world he found himself in, an adaptation, maybe?
That's fascinating because so many early accounts actually describe him as pretty shy.
Yeah, in everyday life, apparently.
But the music passion was undeniable. School choir, piano lessons. I read his principal actually encouraged him, helped fund the lessons.
That's right. Quite supportive.
And then forming his first band, the Hectics, at only 12, already rocking out to Elvis.
So how does that shy kid become, one of the most electrifying frontmen ever? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, part of it was definitely a conscious transformation. Around 1970, just as Queen was getting going, he legally changed his name. Farrokh Bulsara became Freddie Mercury.
Why Mercury?
He apparently chose it because it sounded strong, international, something that would grab attention.
Yeah.
And he was into mythology, saw Mercury as the messenger of God.
Wow. So a deliberate step.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just a stage name. It was him stepping into the identity of the superstar he wanted to be, kind of creating his own myth.
And before all that, really humble beginnings. Didn't he work as a baggage handler at Heathrow for a bit?
Yeah, a loader. It really puts the whole rock god thing in perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so let's talk about that voice. It's legendary. People throw around figures like, what, 4 octaves? More?
Yeah, that's the common perception. But the acoustic analysis we looked at, it found his actual vocal range was pretty much normal for a healthy adult. Not more, not less.
Really? Normal. That seems wrong somehow.
Well, wait, the key thing wasn't the range itself. It was the incredible control he had within that range and the unique qualities. He was probably a natural baritone, but sang primarily as a tenor and did it effortlessly. And the study found this really interesting thing called subharmonics.
Subharmonics, like throat singing?
Exactly. It's seen more extremely in Tuvan throat singing, where even the ventricular folds, sometimes called false vocal cords, vibrate along with the true ones. It adds this incredible depth and texture.
Wow.
Plus, his vibrato is really distinctive, very irregular, very fast compared to most singers. So yeah, while the raw range might have been normal, the way he used it, the technique, the physical phenomena, that was exceptional. There's real science behind that unique sound.
And Freddie himself, he had his own theory, didn't he? About his teeth?
Right, the hyperdontia. He had 4 extra incisors in the back of his mouth.
And he thought that gave him his range.
He believed it did, yeah. And famously refused to get them fixed, even though dentists apparently told him it wouldn't affect his voice.
So maybe not scientifically accurate, but important to him.
Absolutely. It was part of his self-image, his narrative as an artist. And you can't argue with the results. I mean, Roger Daltrey called him the best virtuoso rock and roll singer of all time.
High praise from the Who's frontman.
And Montserrat Caballé, the opera singer he collaborated with, she said the difference between Freddie and other rock stars was that he was selling the voice. It was pure vocal artistry.
And technically, the sources do confirm a huge span, right? Bass, low F to soprano, high F.
Yes, F2 to F6. That technical range across different registers was absolutely massive, way beyond what most rock singers could handle.
Okay, so amazing voice. But then there's the songwriting. Brian May said Freddie could basically hear the whole arrangement in his head.
Yeah, even without instruments sometimes. Just fully formed ideas. And so prolific. He wrote 10 of the 17 tracks on their first Greatest Hits album.
Including monsters like Bohemian Rhapsody, We Are the Champions.
Exactly. And what's amazing is the sheer versatility.
Mm.
He could write something as incredibly complex as Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, its structure is non-cyclical, it doesn't repeat in standard ways, uses tons of chords.
Right, it's like 3 songs in one.
Pretty much. But then he could turn around and write a simple, catchy rockabilly tune like Crazy Little Thing Called Love with just a few chords.
And he supposedly couldn't really read music well.
That's what's often reported. It suggests this incredibly intuitive, almost innate grasp of harmony and structure. It's no wonder he ended up in the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Okay, let's shift to Queen's overall musical legacy. There's often this debate, isn't there? Were they primarily a singles band, amazing hits, but maybe weaker albums overall?
Yeah, that argument comes up.
Or were the albums consistently strong? What did the sources suggest?
It's definitely mixed, but I'd say largely positive towards the albums, too. While that singles band idea hangs around, you have fans and critics constantly pointing to albums like Queen II or Sheer Heart Attack, A Night at the Opera, definitely Innuendo later on.
As really strong, cohesive works.
Exactly. Very strong albums. I think it really reflects Queen's constant need to experiment. They never stood still.
Which sometimes led to controversial stuff, right? Like Hot Space.
Oh, yeah. Hot Space definitely divided people. Some saw it as them, selling out or just jumping on the disco funk trend. Brian May and Roger Taylor themselves apparently felt a bit out of their comfort zone with it.
Which says a lot about their willingness to try things, even if it didn't always land with everyone.
Absolutely. And they really did defy easy categorization, didn't they?
Totally. The 4 members had such different tastes. You get hard rock, pop, opera, disco, rockabilly, all in the same album sometimes.
And deep cuts like Stone Cold Crazy People point to that as almost a precursor to thrash metal.
That's why.
It is, and it raises that question about their influence. Some people say, oh, they were just one of a kind. Nobody sounds like Queen.
But the sources show otherwise.
Clearly. The list of artists influenced by them is huge and spans so many genres. Heavy metal like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, alternative rock Nirvana covered them. Muse owes them a huge debt. Pop stars like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, they all cite Queen.
And visually, too, right? That whole over-the-top campy rock look.
Oh, absolutely. They defined a certain kind of theatrical rock performance style that many, many acts try to emulate.
It's funny, though, how some critics really hammered them for years.
Yeah, they got monstered, as one source put it, especially by parts of the UK press.
Yet their popularity was just undeniable. That Greatest Hits album in the UK, still the biggest seller ever.
Still number 1. 22 times platinum. It's insane.
There's been a kind of revisionism, hasn't there? Suddenly everyone loves Queen.
It does feel that way sometimes. Funny how time changes perspectives.
Let's talk about Freddie live, because that was a whole other level.
Oh, absolutely legendary.
Known for that flamboyant stage persona, just pure energy, total command of massive audience.
He really knew how to work a crowd, didn't he? Even huge stadium crowds.
Can you give us a sense of the scale we're talking about?
Well, estimates are around 700 concerts in total. And the crowd sizes could be immense, like 80,000 people in Budapest in '86.
Wow.
And his final live show with Queen at Knebworth Park that same year, sources say up to 200,000 fans.
Unbelievable.
What was amazing, people say, is how he made even those huge stadium shows feel personal. Like he was connecting with every single person there.
And the absolute peak of that has to be Live Aid, right? July 13th, 1985.
Universally acclaimed. Just one of the greatest live performances ever.
How did they pull off something so perfect in just 21 minutes?
Preparation. They were total pros. They rehearsed intensely for a whole week at the Shaw Theatre in London just to nail that set list.
A whole week for 20 minutes.
Yeah, they knew how important it was. And playing at Wembley Stadium, 72,000 people there, nearly 2 billion watching on TV worldwide.
But pressure must have been immense.
You'd think so, but they delivered this absolute tour de force. Elton John apparently rushed backstage right after and joked, "You bastards, you stole the show."
Classic Elton.
And Bob Geldof, who organized Live Aid, he called it the perfect stage for Freddie. It totally revitalized their career globally.
Cemented their legendary status.
No question.
And even before Live Aid, Their videos were pretty groundbreaking too, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh yeah, that video changed everything. Using those superimposed faces, the dramatic lighting, it was really innovative for 1975.
Made specifically to promote the song because they couldn't perform it live everywhere.
Exactly. It showed them as this powerful visual band, even beyond their stage show, and it absolutely helped make that really long, unconventional song a massive hit worldwide. Set a precedent for music videos.
Okay, so that's the public Freddie, the performer, the rock god. What about the private man? The sources touch on his complexity there too.
They do. He was open about his bisexuality, at least within his circle, but fiercely private about his relationships in public.
There was Mary Alston, of course.
His long-term partner in the early years, he called her his common-law wife. His only friend, even after they separated romantically, left her most of his estate.
And then Jim Hutton later on.
His partner for the last 7 years of his life.
But navigating all that in the 70s and 80s, it couldn't have been easy.
Not at all. You have to remember the context. Homophobia was rampant. Same-sex attraction was still pathologized by many, seen as a mental illness in some places.
And his family background?
His Parsi parents practiced Zoroastrianism, which traditionally viewed homosexuality very negatively. Some sources mention terms like demon worship. It was a difficult cultural background for him to navigate that aspect of his life with.
So he kept it separate?
Completely. Never discussed his sexuality with his family. Jim Hutton, for example, was introduced to his parents just as his gardener.
Wow. That's quite something.
And he maintained that intense privacy right to the end. Even in his final public statement about having AIDS, he didn't explicitly mention his sexuality. It speaks volumes about the pressures he felt.
Outside of Queen, he did have that solo career too. Barcelona with Montserrat Caballé was huge.
Incredible collaboration. It even became an anthem for the '92 Barcelona Olympics after his death. He also worked with Michael Jackson, David Bowie on Under Pressure.
Though apparently those collaborations weren't always smooth sailing.
Reports suggest there were definitely creative tensions, particularly with Bowie, maybe Jackson too. Strong personalities in a room,
Makes sense. But then, as the late 80s arrived, things took a darker turn.
Yeah, the shadow of AIDS looms large. Rumors about his health started circulating around 1986.
And he was diagnosed HIV positive when, exactly? Sources vary a bit.
Seems likely sometime in late 87 or 88, though he kept it intensely private. By the late 80s, symptoms like Kaposi sarcoma were appearing.
And then came that awful betrayal by his former manager, Paul Prenter.
Just devastating. Prenter sold incredibly intimate stories about Freddie's sex life, drug use, the HIV rumors, everything, to tabloids like The Sun.
Even publishing photos.
Yeah, and making these lurid claims about him sleeping with hundreds of men. Just a horrible breach of trust at the worst possible time.
And the sources do paint a picture of a pretty wild lifestyle sometimes, especially in places like Munich's gay scene in the early 80s.
Described as anything went, yeah. Parties, drugs, lots of partners. But it's crucial, like you said before, to remember how little was understood about HIV transmission back then.
It was a dangerous time with limited information.
Incredibly dangerous. And despite all that, the illness, the awful treatments, sources mentioned blood transfusions, AZT, experimental drugs, his dedication to music was just unbelievable.
Recording the show must go on when he was really sick.
Barely able to stand, according to Brian May, but he downed some vodka and just nailed the vocal, determined.
And kept recording vocals right near the edge.
Yeah, for what would become the Made in Heaven album, tracks like Mother Love. He knew he was dying, but he wanted to leave as much material as possible for the band to finish. Just incredible artistic drive.
And then finally the public statement, November 23rd, 1991.
Just one day before he died, confirming he was HIV positive, had AIDS. Explained his silence was to protect the privacy of those around me.
And he passed away the next day, November 24th, aged only 45.
From AIDS-related bronchial pneumonia, just gone.
Such a loss.
Yeah.
He really was this unique force, wasn't he? A phenomenal singer, songwriter, showman, but also this very private person dealing with so much. His impact is just immense.
Absolutely. What really stands out to you when you think about his legacy now?
Well, beyond the timeless music, his death really forced a spotlight onto AIDS, didn't it?
Undeniably, it brought it right into the mainstream in a way that few other things had. And the Mercury Phoenix Trust, set up by Brian May and Roger Taylor.
Still going strong, right? funding AIDS awareness and education.
Exactly. Carrying on that fight. It reminds you of people like Princess Diana around that time, too, challenging the stigma, hugging patients.
Yeah, powerful images.
It really makes you ask, how do we keep challenging stigma today? How do we make sure the knowledge we have about health, about acceptance, is actually understood and put into practice?
That's a really important point. So here's something to think about. Freddie often called himself the great pretender on stage. He created this incredible persona. How does knowing more about the private man, the struggles, the contradictions, how does that change how you see him? Does it challenge your ideas about authenticity, especially for public figures? And maybe, what new layer does all this add to the power his music still holds for you today?